I'm Kiva Carson. I teach kindergarten at Shallowater Elementary.
Okay, the first question is, how well prepared do you feel to teach students with disabilities and other special learning needs?
I think straight out of college, I felt slightly ill-prepared, but after gaining years of experience and working with kids with varying disabilities, whether it's physical or learning, and learning disabilities are just so widespread. The more experience you have with them, the better prepared you become to work with them.
Did you complete a traditional program or alternative certification?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Did you complete a traditional program or alternative certification?
I completed a traditional program through Texas Tech and then ended up getting my master's at Tech as well.
What is your role and responsibility in teaching students with disabilities?
As a general ed classroom teacher, I come across varying disabilities in the classroom. Some of them are from a life skills class that come to me for about a few hours a day. And then some are learning disabilities that you just see in the general ed education program, whether it's dyslexia or autism, ADD, ADHD, and everything across the board. You see a little bit of all of it.
In your opinion, what are the characteristics of effective inclusive instruction?
Say it again.
In your opinion, what are the characteristics of effective inclusive instruction?
I think effective inclusive instruction provides the student with the least restrictive environment for their learning needs. And like I said, that's really varying depending on what the child has, what they need, what's in their plan. Teaching kindergarten is different. I also have experience teaching fourth grade. So when they got to me in fourth grade, they had a plan in place that I just had to follow and implement. In kindergarten, it is really different because we're on the front lines of receiving those kids. And so a lot of times it's working with parents and our special education instructor and really diagnosing and identifying their needs and then proceeding from there. Sometimes it is a little more difficult because they are in kindergarten, and at that age, sometimes what could be a learning disability is disguised as developmental, whether delays or just where they're at developmentally, and so it is kind of hard sometimes to discern whether it's immaturity and lack of development or if it really is something more that we need to identify, because early intervention is the best intervention with any learning disability.
Describe the frequency and methods of collaboration between you and the special education teachers working with your students with disabilities.
I'm sorry, repeat it again.
It's okay. Describe the frequency and methods of collaboration between you and the special education teachers working with your students with disabilities.
It's just a constant flow of communication. Really knowing those students, knowing what they need, knowing where they're at, and what their goals are to get them to where they need to be. It's a near daily thing that takes place. When I taught fourth grade in Lubbock, I had 11 kids with a 504 plan and special ed needs, and they were all across the board at varying degrees, and I spoke with a special education teacher every single day to educate myself on to better serve their needs in the general ed classroom, and just making sure that I was doing everything I possibly could to get them to where they needed to be, while also making them feel successful with where they are, which I do think is extremely important, because every student is more likely to perform better when they have some level of success first, and then you can push them on to reach their goals.
In what ways are you providing effective instruction for students with disabilities?
In what ways are you providing
Effective instruction for students with disabilities.
Just by meeting their needs. I think that just my philosophy of teaching is having a real relationship with the kids and making sure that all of their basic needs are met first, and knowing that they are in a loving and safe environment, to just initially have that level of trust that you get to build on, and then just knowing what it is they need, what it is that motivates them. A lot of times it does take finding their little niche of just what they like, what they're interested in, and implementing that into your daily lessons and stuff. For example, like if a kid is so uninterested but loves baseball, do something baseball related, whether it's putting letters on baseballs or whatever it is, just getting them interested and motivating them. Does that answer the question?
It does.
Okay.
What is your biggest challenge in working with students with disabilities?
I think there are a lot of challenges that are individualistic to each child. Sometimes not knowing what exactly it is they need, not being able to really identify their deficits or disabilities, and then knowing where to go from there. Sometimes it's, I don't even know. There's just so many factors that can kind of stack up against you. Sometimes it's parents that are really hard to work with, and when you have their child's best interest at heart, and I hate to say that, but it is a common occurrence. I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know. I do think that it is very important to incorporate them into your learning environment and addressing their needs individually, but then also just having them included in your school family, in your classroom community.
So the last question is, I will be in my own classroom next fall. What recommendations do you have to help me prepare to teach students with disabilities and other special learning needs?
Research. Know as soon as you find out what your kids' needs are, look into what they have. Look into research of effective instruction. Research always. But also having a relationship with your kids. I know I already talked about it, but I think that is so vitally important. Knowing them and establishing that mutual respect for each other will get you so much further than just jumping right in and hounding them with just the information. I think that people don't grow where they're informed, they grow where they're loved and respected, and I think that is the most important thing you can do just from the basis, and then build from there.
Thank you.